trying to breathe, and she died with her heart giving out from not being able to breathe properly and not being able to get the toxins out of her body. That was a horrible death. Now, there's no hashtag for environmental justice deaths on Twitter, so we have to talk about it. Do you know that gun deaths are a lot in our community, right? Well, when it comes to dying from pollution, it's 7 times as much. And that's unacceptable. So what do we do now? We have to advocate for making sure that what's close to us is healthy within our homes. That means that we have to learn what's safe for us and what's not. That means from the way we cook in a pot, making sure it doesn't have, what is it, polyfluor, they call it PFAS for short, but forever chemicals, to make sure we don't have Teflon, to make sure we don't have those in our cooking pots, and then understanding that the emissions from gas in our houses are also shortening our lives. And so that means that we have to change our immediate environment, and then we have to keep making decisions to make our overall environment better. It's always better to start with self first, right? And don't sweat. We don't know everything now. We learn better, we do better. That's what my great grandmother always said. And even with the technologies out right now, we have cleaner ways to generate energy, and we have to hold industries accountable to move them to a zero waste system. So one thing about environmental justice, we're gonna look at all pollution, not just carbon. So with me being on that board, and it's like, oh, we're going to go to zero carbon in 2030. How? What are you going to do with the pollution from the energy that's being produced, whether it be coal, whether it be nuclear? Where's that pollution going to go? Because we don't want it. Not only do we not want it for ourselves, but we don't want it for anybody else, because we know what it does for life expectancy. We know what it does for public health. And as we champion our communities to look different, it starts with us. Because just as there was a board to be set up to siphon billions of dollars out of our community, we can set up organizations and boards to make sure that during this appropriations cycle, that those dollars come back, where we can live in our community, where our people can age in place and not die prematurely, where our children won't be affected by pollution and have learning disabilities or behavior problems. All of this stuff is so connected because chemicals affect every major system of the body. Now, what is the charge? How do we move forward? We have to make different decisions, and we have to hold the people that are elected accountable. And so that's what we do. First things first, make sure you register to vote. Oh, I'm registered. Did you vote in the last local election? So if you didn't, guess what? You probably got purged if you only vote in the presidential elections. So you probably need to re-register. You can go to our website and you can actually go see and check your voter status at soulandjustice.org. And to close out everything, I'm a Christian, and my favorite Bible verse, I'm gonna paraphrase. It says, God is not mocked. If you sow a man and reap it, it's something about what it sows. Like, I'm a verse that quotes scriptures. Let's just, I don't mix them. Yeah, I remember. Right. So it's not just a threat, but it's also a promise to us that whatever we put into life, we can get it back out. And so if we reap what we sow, as sowing justice, we're going to sow justice. And I want you to come into that challenge with us and help not only the community in Memphis move forward with a different path, but also South Nashville, Chattanooga, across this state, and even their communities in Arkansas and Mississippi that are reaching out to work with us at Sowing Justice, because environmental justice is such a problem that needs to be, well, environmental justice is the solution. The problem that we're trying to solve is environmental racism and environmental degradation. And we're needing to move to a just transition where industries do not pollute and that we move to a total zero waste system. And when you look at the exercise today, no matter who you are or how old you are, you know how you want your community to look like. I've done this exercise with elementary school children, college students, senior citizens, and it's a fun exercise. So you're gonna put down a few things that's pretty staples in your community, like the library, the school. Or if it's not a library, where do you want the library to go? Or if you want a way to be able to walk to entertainment, like some communities are in Nashville, or walk for dinner, like, or to be able to take your kid to school in a way where they don't have to smell emissions from cars. And so, when you look at this piece of paper, it's blank right now, but I want you to dream for what it will take this Napier community to thrive. And once we get through drawing on this piece of paper, we're gonna be able to look at it and pick out policy initiatives. And it's going to be an action plan. From drawing and working together to an action plan. And 10 years from now, you're gonna say, this is where we started, this is how the community looked, and this is where we are, and this is where we wanna go. Because now we drew it that time, it's time to draw it again, because you have everything you need for the ingenuity and the creativity that's gonna solve the climate crisis and move us towards environmental justice. Thank you again. My name is Marquita Bradshaw. You can follow us at Sowing J on social media handles. And also, if you're looking for me, you can follow me at Bradshaw for Tennessee.
Thank you for that. Man, everything, the moving history of South Memphis, how it's impacted you and your family, how you've been able to, come together and find a solution with Sowing Justice and your team down in Memphis, and then how that's grown to building the connections to Nashville. And we're not only furthering the work that you're doing, but also we're able to bring more value to it and bring more awareness to it by working together as we raise awareness about these issues in South Nashville. You had mentioned about that we need to, rethink how we can create safer conditions when kids are like walking to school. Something that they have over here in the Napier community is the walking school bus. The walking school bus was created because a lot of kids that live over here do not have safe access to get to school. So they have adults and they have different people from the community who wake up early in the morning to actually walk these kids to school just so they can get to school safe. And that's something that needs our attention, right? We need to figure out how can we, and they've been doing things around here, such as they have been doing things like, creating painting and like creating more sidewalks, and it's been little things that's been going on, right? But we want to do what we can with our partners and with our team to enhance that and increase that. So we've came this year and committed to doing community cleanups for this whole year. I got to look back at let me look at my Instagram, but I'm gonna give y'all the numbers of commitment.
Y'all picked up a lot of trash. That's basically what you gonna say.
That's basically what we are, right? We picked up, but I wanna,
You get them or no?
indeed,
That's important.
because, so this year, Recycle Reinvest, we organized a street hiller crew that was led by Commuter Wilson, who is here today. And she was responsible for a team of 5 people per cleanup who were considered our captains. These captains actually came from the South Nashville community, this community, majority of them, and they cleaned and assisted with directing the volunteers throughout the streets to pick up trash, right? Our numbers were, we worked with at least 297 volunteers from this community or around Nashville area. We picked up 5,400 pounds of trash just from this area, as well as this is also numbers that we collected from our events that we do outside of the community cleanups. But in total for the year, 5,400 pounds and 360 pounds of aluminum.
Can I iterate that this only 7 days?
No, this will be for the year, what I'm reading now,
I was gonna say.
for this year.
Okay.
Yeah,
You add everything together.
right.
Okay.
So that's what we were able to do for this year, and then just this area. So it's like, how can we, what else can we do, and how can we do it more intentionally, and who can we do it with? So this is what this town hall is all about. It's all about trying to connect more dots and become more aware of the work that's already being done. So like I said, before we go into that, draw your activity, I want to open the floor up for questions from Marquita. Does anyone have any questions for Marquita, or do you want more context around something she said or mentioned? We'd like to take about 5 to 10 minutes to do that, like right now, if anybody has any questions.
I have a question. Do you work with soil, such as contaminated soil, testing, so that people know where these areas are, and make sure that something they're done to eradicate the polluted soil?
Okay, so we partnered with a community, still in South Memphis. We partnered with another organization that specialized on soil regeneration. There was this plot that we planted sunflowers to remediate the soil. Think about it is, when you remediate the soil, you have to treat it like toxic waste, what you pull up out of it, until you get rid of the toxicity out of the soil, to make sure that once you get to the point where you do want to put food or things that people eat, that it actually helps them thrive, not make them sicker. And so those sunflowers were planted, and I think I told y'all about how my grandmother used to plant the peach trees. Well, we're gonna put a few peach trees on there when the soil gets ready. That gives me hope. So the answer is yes, but we work in coalition, because it's some people that soil is their jam. That's what they do. And one thing about leadership that we like to create in Soil and Justice is a collaborative leadership model, where we are building coalition, and leaders are eager to work with other leaders and serve with other leaders, and knowing when to step up and step back.
How long do you think that it's going to take for everyone to, I guess, adopt the no trash policy, basically with a zero waste lifestyle? How long do you think it's really going to take to really make a difference?
I think if we build a system where there's incentives to encourage people to move to a zero waste lifestyle, some cities already have implemented zero waste. So what that means is, for the waste that they can't destroy, they'll send it to a place like Memphis, because we got plenty of landfills. And so either you're gonna be a zero waste city, or either you're gonna be a city that's gonna be, or a state that's going to specialize in making money off of storing things that can contaminate your community. And so, with that being said, how long does it take? How long does it take to get people involved? And so we have to get people involved enough so we can actually cause the urgency for things to change on a quicker scale.
I get what you're saying, and I'm also wondering, like, when it comes to certain things that don't degrade, some things that we're creating, or I could say like recycling to recreate, repurpose, and then it's still also still causing harm or causing injury to the process of what we're trying to do.
We have to decide, like, we really have to decide. We know that fossil fuels are not really good for the environment, the whole process, right? Not just fossil fuels, but things from the fossil industry, even, to heat our homes, we might use gas to heat our home. We know it's not good. And so we have to make a conscious decision of, we're gonna eventually have to let some things go. But that's the reason why we say this word called just transition. That means that you build a system that phase out and that phase in industries. So not only do you create jobs, but you give industries time to move towards another way of doing things.
And that's the question, wondering how long it's really gonna take for us to really
Well, some people have it like to 2030 for carbon. And so if we say we want a zero waste society, we have to actually get the world on the same page and then decide which date it's going to be. Like the date that we say, okay, if we can get to zero carbon, let's move to zero waste. And maybe that's like 2050. I don't know if that's gonna be in my lifetime, because I'm almost 50 now. So yeah, I hope to see it.
Yes, you talked about the individual, focusing on your individual behavior changes. And we know, what I have observed is, and you just highlighted, are these opposing forces. So what do we have to give up? Because some of what we find convenient is actually creating the problem, or continuing to fuel the problem. So there have to be these choices. But also, can you talk a little bit about any work you've done around policy and addressing past harm, and at the same time guarding against future harm? Because as I sit here in this community and I travel to North Nashville, and I am familiar with Memphis, having lived in Memphis, is that you've got situations that leaves a community at continued harm based on zoning. When you look around this community, the zoning has allowed light industrial to be all around it, okay? Which if so you've got that past harm that's being created by institutions and industry that already exists. However, you highlighted this very well. There are decisions being made every day that actually can lay the foundation for future harm, because industry doesn't always have a balanced set of metrics that balances out risk versus profit and the communities that they live in. So they look at their bottom line, this is the business decision, and we won't be as concerned about the harm in the future. And then we got folks at the policy table, the regulatory table, government. If the regulations don't exist, or they navigate the regulations in order to get that factory approved for that location. So can you talk a little bit about that? And you mentioned you're on the TVA board, which they've had their issues.
I'm not on the board, I'm
but
on the Regional Energy Resource Council. And what we do is, we do the integrated resource plan. We make first we approve the plan to give to the board for the board to approve. So we're supposed to pretty much go through it and make sure it's supposed to be sound. Cause it's like a projection of what energy we're gonna use and what energy we're gonna need.
Okay, so if you could talk a little bit about that work, that would be great, because I think in my mind, as a Tennessean, a native Tennessean, TVA, and TVA is great. I mean, we have the lowest price electricity in the country, as a result of the TVA, but it's kind of this love-hate relationship. You know what, you're great and wonderful for low-cost electricity, but the folks over in the Knoxville area knows the harm that it creates.
Well, depending on where you live at, the low cost still might be too much, and that's called energy poverty, right? And energy burden, where you have to spend, like this year, I think my energy bill got more than my mortgage for 1 month. For like the summer months, when it was like super hot, it did. And it almost got away from me, but thank God for family. But some people don't have that kind of decision. That can be something that starts a line of not only not being able to pay your energy bill, but on the road to being homeless, right? Or going into foreclosure or something like that, because it's just too much, right? And so as far as the question was, have I participated in projects? Yes. One thing is that when they pull those permits, you have to stay watchful, because they'll wait you out to when there's not any involvement. And so you have to, and it's not just permits for building, but also something that a lot of people don't watch are water permits, because the water permits can pretty much tell you what's coming around development, because it's going to say they're going to ask for a permit to use this much pollution in this place, and it's going to be, say for instance, it may be like in Memphis, one of the local tributaries is going into the Mississippi River, and you know the Tennessee River is connected, is a tributary into the Mississippi River, right? Like that's like I'm checking my geography, right? And so in Ohio, okay, so we're pretty connected, right? And when they say, okay, we're gonna pollute this area, but we're gonna plant so many trees in this area that has nothing to do, or a dead river that's so dead from industrialization that planting some trees, it's not really gonna do anything. That's called greenwashing. But yeah, so you can watch those water permits, those air permits, and it pretty much gives you like a warning of like what's to come. But staying organized, educating your elected officials about what is being overburdened with pollution, so they can make decisions on climate positive industries to come in, or renewable green options, or just clean jobs, you know? And I think one of the biggest planned developments coming is the Ford Blue Oval. It's gonna impact all of middle, west. Let's be truthful. If they're gonna provide that many jobs, people are gonna travel up to 3 hours to get to a good paying job, right? And so that's gonna affect most of Tennessee, some parts of Mississippi and Arkansas too, for people trying to get to a good job. And so, and they are touting that they're going to be zero waste, right? And so me and my friends in the environmental movement, we've been trying to make sure that we keep, first of all, communication, transparency, and accountability to make sure that that's happening. We're asking the questions about, like, what does that look like? What do you mean? When is that? Like, when do you expect to be zero waste? And, you know, how do you create, like, does the zero waste start right now during construction? or not. It does not start during construction, people. It does not.
Oh, really?
It does not. Because we have to create those systems in our communities where we have people that are looking out for us because they've been trained about how to protect us. Like if they don't know what it means to be overburdened by pollution, if they don't know what a dirty job is, and they keep bringing in dirty industries that don't pay enough or only pay a portion of a job for a short portion of time. Y'all have those seasonal jobs here too? Man, that kills a community more than anything. You don't have no seasonal rent. You don't have no seasonal mortgage. And that utility bill certainly is not seasonal. So we have to educate the people that are making decisions. And then guess what? You would go sit on them boards. You know how many boards there are across the state, across the city of Nashville, across West Tennessee, Middle Tennessee. There are so many boards that are deciding what type of things are not only being built, but also how conservation is being done, what places get to experience conservation and wildlife and what places don't. It should be wildlife in the city too, you know. If it's not, then it can be a direct reflection of what's happening to people. If the animals dying and people dying, not too far off from it. And so absolutely yes. So yes, stand on fight, you know, stand on deck to watch out, to make sure this certain company put in all these permits to put in a landfill in Memphis. And we not only organize to keep the landfill from out of southwest part of Memphis, but then the north part of Memphis and Frazier, we have to make sure that we go assist them and be like, hey, they coming for y'all. And we link up, like really. And then knowing that they will wait you out in order to get what it is that they need. Like so, Memphis, there was a pipeline that was trying to come through. We didn't get it, but Burns did, Tennessee. And it was like, oh, it's a done deal. And I was like, no, it's not a done deal. And they was like, oh, you're too political because you ran for office. And I was like, pollution is political. If anything dealing with a decision, meaning that it had something to do with policy, and it had something to do with politics. So that means that, yes, be engaged, help write policies. You know, they need people to be so engaged to show them the way. And so you can get together with some smart friends, some lawyers, and say, you know, we want to change the zoning for this area, that if it is going to cause a cumulative impact, we need to have a cumulative impact zoning law to protect our health. And then that means that if the state elected officials try to preempt it like they did in Memphis, that you have to send people up there to represent you. And then for people who are not representing, not only forgetting that they're representing all of Tennessee and trying to do preemption laws, work with your friends that like the environment in rural Tennessee and get them replaced. Because they can lose their job for not protecting our health.
Don't mean to interrupt, but we're gonna hop into this art activity, y'all, for a few minutes. So if you would, thank you. Like I said, once again, let's give a round of applause for my Peter Bradshaw, social justice. So let's hop in this activity.
People eat for a little bit.
Well, I mean,
Because the food cannot get cold.
Yeah, grab a plate
y'all,
and then.
y'all more than welcome to eat. We did encourage them to eat, you know, before we
Yes.
started.
Yeah, but keep reminding them, don't let the food get cold. I sound like my aunt now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
You should.
You know about the hand tilt.
thing right here.
Oh
This thing
yeah.
right here, you can actually loosen this and then you can turn it rather than having to pick it up every time.
No, it's fine. It's cool.
What are you saying? Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So, great presentation.
Probably say this. But yeah, and so things.
I will. Oh, I am. Okay, good. But I'm gonna focus on the other. That's fine. Okay, but yeah.
We gon' after this activity, we gonna hop into the channel. Okay. That'll be the final thing.
Okay.
It's like, 'cause I can see, so, I see.
We probably gonna be using the slideshow.
Okay, well, I got all that stuff on my computer, this actually is, where my vision of what community is going to like, is on here.
We can share it on social media and like recap. So.
These are some of my renderings of like what the community would look like.
Like I might be right now.
All these 3D printed structures, gardens at the center, all that stuff. This is like vision of the future.
Thank you so much, everybody. Y'all, you think y'all savvy for these right here? You did great.
My question is what are like I feel like should that
Well, yes,
right?
stay on top of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't let, like, those economic development meetings, you got to have people sitting in those things.
Those are a lot of voices.
Yeah.
Show that it's not gonna take it.
Good seeing you again. How you doing? Yeah, but yeah, just being part of the, what is that other, what is that thing? How where, oh, you said you want to part of this doing that?
Yep.
It's like an organization for businesses.
Oh, like a chamber?
Yes, so you have to watch.
Yeah, the aldermen, the aldermen and all the people, yeah.
Pretty much like wherever money's coming in.
Exactly.
Because my thing is like, it's so tiring to try to keep up with all the different players. And I feel like that's kind of like what's going on.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that, it's like part of the design. It's like the people that designed it are the ones that are manipulating and exploiting the system. And they kind of want to keep it that way.
Yeah, they want to see it, so, you know.
But it is a test of endurance and like due process, which is kind of how people, man, I work in sustainability for Hendersonville and Galveston, Sumner County for a while. And
It's actually,
Chamber of Commerce, in particular, we had meetings.
yeah,
They would continually, basically, act like it wasn't a priority for recycling, it wasn't a priority for waste management, and then like everything was just really going to landfill. And it turns out that like cousins were products, like beneficiaries of like waste management. So yeah, so it's like one of these things where like yeah, and they're like yeah, it's throw to a landfill. Hey, every time something comes here, it's something like $50 a truck or something like that. So like. Basically, the city had contracts with the landfill. Kickback. Yeah, kickback. So every time the truck came in, they got paid a little bit. And yeah, so yeah, I've seen that stuff go on. Yeah, but still.
when the urban areas get organized up and got, they go target low level. Or is it more through like landfills or? Pipelines, maybe.
There's a couple of plates and.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking about food. Got some up the street. Yeah. I'm glad to. I'd be away at the hang of compost.
I'll make sure I exit it the next, council meeting.
Thank you.
But it'll make it more real to go around and say, nobody will have it. You
Take it from over there. Let's do this. That boy.
Yeah.
Good structure.
Good, yeah.
Public spaces, housing, community resources, energy resources.
Access to clean food, 1,000%. As good as the fuel and the engine. You know?
What's that?
Are you aware of the EPA grants?
Oh, I got so many.
I got a friend that,
Not just those, I'm really working for.
How do we,
So this, yep. What's gonna happen on this is, if you had in this community, on this South Nashville area, you had all of these that happen. What would you put into your community? And we brought you
I'm
down,
probably gonna be working on
as
it.
far as community resources, resources, energy resources, public space and housing. So like, as far as community resources, we are talking about, the walking school bus, but that will require, we need more community partners. Energy resources, public space. Public space will be like clean parks, tree planting,
green spaces?
green spaces. Is that correct? Like public spaces like parks, like
It could
trees?
be anything, it could actually be a place where people forage for food.
Yeah, true that.
Food forest.
Food boards.
I like to call that integrated agriculture, in which like integrated into community space, it's like part of the design. And that's kind of what I'm gonna be talking about in my little share. I'm working with this nonprofit that I found with Nelson, and it's basically designing agri-hoods and using instead of like the neighborhoods, agriculture-centric communities, and using 3D printing technology to basically 3D print houses that have minimal waste, minimal environmental impact, low cost, and it actually is a streamlined process where we can like basically design communities with wind turbines integrated, with hydroponic tower gardens integrated, all this stuff modeled, and you can print a structure in like 5 to 7 days. And it's something that you don't have to chop a tree down. And we're working with a company in Italy that's called Wasp, and they use clay and film with 3D printing, so using earthen-based materials. And then, and I got slides about that stuff. But
Oh, that's good to know, earthen-based material, what does that mean?
it means clay, it means porcelain, which concrete is actually an earthen-based material as well, and it's local to Tennessee. You know, like concrete is kind of a dirty process with all the waste and the energy involved in it. But the company that we're working with in Italy is looking for this. They're working on inventing this green concrete that uses low energy to cure. And so we're working with some material scientists on figuring that out. And instead of chopping down trees and doing stick and frame, like basically being able to go in, clear a spot, lay a concrete slab, and just 3D print a structure in 5 to 7 days. It's like $14K to build to 3D print a structure in a couple of days. And we're modeling tower gardens, and modeling hydroponic arrays. And this is all conceptual. It's like, but I got photos of it. This stuff is already been printed. And we just got our nonprofit. Well, we're still waiting for Tier 1 and C3. But the idea is to fund a 3D printer, work with the housing board, National Board of Affordable Housing, and have a pilot site in North Nashville. So like we'll basically be able to be like, look, we 3D printed the structure. We want to scale this up and 3D print the whole entire community. And they're doing that. They just 3D printed the first 3D printed community in Austin, Texas. Like this past year, it was like 60 minutes. So yeah, so there's a lot. That's basically where I've been at the whole time. It's been plugging away on that.
You mentioned porcelain. Is it a natural material?
What should I believe today? There's a mixture of like sand and I don't think it's clear.
Well,
Well, yeah,
I'm
this one
running the same thing.
is an asphalt material. It's like some type of mineral. And I'm not 1,000%, so I might be, I was kind of just reaching for a branch there, but I believe it's a earthy material as well. Yeah, I mean, it's blowing up. We're in the front lines of it, and so essentially, we're in contact with an engineering firm, Pagani Engineering Education and Execution. And they were here a couple weeks ago at the Mid Summit, the Mid-Key stuff. But they're going to be the visionary experts on this project. And then we've been talking to the minerals like on the projects. And they're going to be the, well, we don't have a formal agreement with them yet, but they expressed interest of being the architects in this project. And then again, also my recruiter, I'm going to the research center, partner as well, so we have calls on Monday. But the idea is to develop a workforce with highly skilled and learn how to use 3D printing technology. But essentially, it's just a 3D printer that's scaled up. And that's the cool thing about 3D printing and like vectors and polygonal space is that it can be scaled up as big as you can make the print. So it's like
Bigger holes.
yes, exactly. Or if you had a small scale, we're trying to raise money right now to get a 6-foot printer.
So he's.
And you can print bricks, and then you can just stack modular bricks to the wall. And then also we'd be able to 3D print a tower garden. So we 3D print like pottery, we 3D print all kinds of wind turbines, you can 3D print wind turbines as well. So and the thing that's cool about it is that you can use different filaments. So we have recycled plastic. One of the slides of the presentation was next to the wind turbine kind of like a flower blossom that's 3D printed out of recycled plastic. And the idea that I have, and I haven't maybe I'll draw a picture, but it's having a wind garden. So it's like a garden space that has functional art that looks like a flower blossom with different parts, kind of like a mandala. That's why mandala to make a 3D experiential mandala to like go into.
Turbine or something.
Yes, so then wind turbines that look like flower blossoms, having a wind garden, so where it's actually like a garden space, but instead of having like sculptures that look like they're not functional, actually having functional art that's like sculptures that are actually wind turbines at different parts of the garden.
We're working on that.
That's actually generating electricity for the house, or for the ambient landscape lighting, or the pumps on the hydroponic system, the water pumps, or, you know, any of that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it's
For like self-sustaining type,
I think,
right,
maybe the third one.
you know, the term closed loop system. So everything that goes in the system is used and recycled in the system. And
how long do you wait to be ready?
well,
I think if we do.
we can raise them up.
Because we used to have first government coming in off, this is the first time they laid in a riverfront.
This is what we did. We had a conversation about
About 25 acres.
it's what we implemented. How do we scale it? What do we need to amend?
And that might be the first way to just like make a little snippet, just to make one. Like wind turbine that's like an art sculpture, and you have like a lighting system around it that's powered by a wind turbine that's pointed out. I mean, it would be cool if we could like use recycle reinvest, pick up a bunch of plastic, clean it, and then melt it down, and then 3D print a wind turbine out of.
My type of issue.
Yeah, exactly. Like 3D print a wind turbine out of stuff that was collected in the area, and you have like a home charging station or something. So this is like an idea that's manifesting right now from this energy in this environment.
It would be nice if we
That's the thing is that
recognize
it's all conversations
that
to
probably
have.
should be instead of
Think of it like and now I'm finally still.
post a sign on the side.
All kinds of stuff. It's been a hard past 3 months for me, but yeah, I'm sure. So, but I it's upcoming year, I have more availability, and I'm willing then there's like conversations that way, so they're doing sometimes to
I
like
can talk to them about it.
in a way.
Of course, there's a lot of work that we do.
Fun meeting.
I was like, you know, what
Yeah.
okay.
But try to meet with them. Like, you got something you wanna say?
Oh,
I'm just good.
That's bad. Yeah, and what you're doing might not have come down to business, that might not have, you know.
That's
Maybe
perfect.
plastic planet. Have you heard of plastic planet? Precious planet. So what's that?
Yes, it is, as awesome, you already know that.
Yeah,
I met those people. Like,
They did come here before, I actually had a time where I was supposed to link up with them.
So someone testified.
They seen
He ended up having to cancel.
yeah. So I mean, it's like for real, because I mean, especially when you got the ends of deep topics, we can easily have a like set up there. If we're talking about this precious plastic, have them come in, and then we get just like 3D print have another 3D print little tokens for people or something.
Exactly, I was gonna have them make conditions and all, cause there was many where I wanted to actually start picking up money. I really wanted to teach them how to get ladies together. This little lady, she breaks it on glass, she knows how to glass, and turns it into art. Almost the same concept, but it's technically plastic. And a lot of different variations of plastic, learning what can be melted, what can be recycled. All of the different they can actually take home, like they can create dishes, create.
So maybe we can like.
I mean, you can go so far.
Yeah.
And I want us to have a location, I try
We can just plan on.
to give us a location around any community, because they were saying with the that they're actually, we want to give us a location, we just have somewhere to place it, and all the conversation with where it can be placed, because there's so much changing going on when you're in houses.
Yeah, I know that it's a good part from here, but I've seen the group like really open and receptive. Yeah, we discussed the plan the next step, and this is what I have no idea.
Sounds
To basically,
Why, you know why,
teenagers that are in the
did you ever think that
have this work pipeline, different pipeline, jobs, by like having them be some people that are 3D printing how to check out, instead of working on your own myself, you know, what I'm saying? Like that's what we're trying to do.
obviously,
Yeah. And I think I grew up literally like on the other side of the world. So like I know what it's like. I grew up with a certain mindset. I got but I'm not letting that define me.
And I think that, I agree to that front, and the only reason why I say that it's plays into it, because we were with that,
Right.
like saying that we can probably use it at the same time. We got to get our kids.
Yeah, you're right.
This problem, this.
You're finding it right here.
Exactly, so this, you know,
That's up for like, like, I don't know, I should more exercise. Like, I'd be interested to look back there and see if there's any spaces that are really close to you, you know, maybe even reaching out to NSA, it's right there. Before you get in the weeds, yeah. Yeah, y'all have like somebody especially just everything
It's just, like I said, it's just.
we're doing it for $1. And it's like, I keep trying to do it. I'm not the guy to do this.
Right.
I'm a technician. Like I'm a designer. Like I'm not the. You gotta have rules. They're important.
Right.
They're like the bricks in the wall and the foundation. You should have the bricks. Like if you like And that's the thing that, like, I had to step back a little bit and be like, look, I gotta drop down with this. Like, I'm like,
What's up now?
I can do this, but I can't do this.
Right.
So we gotta, I can't have a conversation about doing that, because that's not what I do.
Right.
Like, I think it's something about cutting you off, but like, say that to the person that's doing
You
that.
can't,
I'm not that person. I can design, I'm a designer, you know?
I'm so with you on that. Like, I'm a creative. Yeah, so I'm trying to put myself into the position, community resources.
Community resources, okay, I got you, I'm still eating and talking, I'll write it down in a second.
I'm getting like
Where?
Well, we got some food here.
All right, y'all feeling all right?
Yeah.
All right, and, we're gonna get to our next
Energy resources. Where, some examples.
Go ahead. Oh, that's way more.
So we got some, we got a bathroom right there, we're washing hands, we got a place right here, pools from here, and man, get as much as you want.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Yep, and you can take the place with you.
All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming through.
Like a motor in your car, how it works. Going over, back and over, right, the curb guard, the curb.
I'm not big.
I wasn't heard,
That makes so much sense.
it's like using,
In about 10 minutes, y'all gonna get to the panel.
it's like batteries and like,
Gretchen?
no, it's like a rotational,
Store.
so like the battery or the battery is being spun and that like electromagnetic field is like creating
Just like
energy needed to,
Yeah, we got a place right there.
I'm just trying to figure out.
We got some golf plates right
Like
here.
kinetic or, there's like friction generated stuff, and that's not my, I got a business, like.
Come on now.
But I, you sign in for me, bro, energy that's.
Sign in for me.
Breaks. Whenever I break, the friction generates electricity that recharges.
I'm not big.
Yeah, that's it.
Not that nigga.
He knows we have the children. I'm trying to figure like words.
All right, so that's your grandpa
Appreciate the ball.
here.
I think the only one that I know when I think others, but the only one I love is the one. That's the only one. But he had other siblings, and we had a birthday, he became kind of grandchild. With my mom, and I didn't because she's like 20 years old.
It's worked out perfect.
I don't know, but we gonna figure it out eventually.
I'm figuring, right, because this is small world. I ain't been here. No, they say.
So Brash.
What part of Memphis you from, Khalid? What part of Memphis you from?
Oh,
All over.
What part of it did y'all start in?
South.
South Memphis?
And then we elevated up, and we ended up in Midtown, and then we ended up out north.
You familiar with the place?
It's about 4 different sets of brash y'all that I think about it. And
I know the bloodline other than the males kind of, branch out, connect, start getting up. But I'm just wondering, it's a small world, I'm gonna figure it out. Just cause I got that last name though, I'm just on the radar. Thank you for your comment.
y'all,
6 more minutes, we're gonna get started.
all right, shoot over to the.
Yes, ma'am. Walk that side, make sure that side's safe. Yes, ma'am.
So how are we solving environmental racism, y'all?
How we solve it, we talking about.
Policy.
Design a system that makes that system obsolete.
Yeah.
That's bonus a bullet right there.
That's it right there.
Actually,
My thing is designing the system that people are gonna adopt and actually use the program.
yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is to get the example there. So it's experiential. it's hard for people to like think of a concept and be like, oh yeah, that's gonna work, until like getting on the walking side and be like, oh, this is totally working. You know?
You gotta give them a job in which they can get paid to do the thing that you're professing is the better thing to do.
Yeah.
Preach. Cause people are not gonna like divest from a system that's not working for them, if they don't have a means of living.
Yeah, we understood that if they got paid for it, that they most definitely would have no problem doing it.
I didn't realize, this is my.
You also give them trash cans to be able to do. That's another thing that this community fails. We don't have enough trash cans in the community, but it's a reason behind it because they sell them.
Find that things that the government gives you for free.
Thank you, sir.
You have high value on your livelihood or your pocketbook. It's not really free.
Yeah.
So it's more of a controlling factor and to keep you in a certain position.
You said you have to control.
Yeah, you don't get some. Too many people jump for the free stuff.
Not understand the consequence
It's
behind it.
locking you into a lifestyle
What you said.
that does not promote any type of progression. Oh, Gunny. Good to see my boys, man.
Yeah.
I hang out with my son went to school with cops. Awesome. Hey, cops. Yeah, with the house.
Take on it.
Nice.
So much food.
I'm just getting to know them. They
I
got so
know
inspiring.
the father and the mother, we used to go to different events together. So yeah,
They're doing some good stuff. Like Nelson made that connection, and it's been and they just been a wealth of knowledge. They're so generous with their time and energy and just what they know.
when I heard that he was connected with them, I kind of just said, okay, well, let me keep doing what I'm doing because they got it.
Yeah, we've been meeting with them weekly. So we'll be meeting with them on Sunday, Monday. So basically, where we're at right now, I have a.
Were you there last Thursday?
Last Thursday? No, I'm at a point where like.
Friday. Friday.
It was Friday.
Talking about the banquet?
The banquet? Or you
It's all Thursday night at
the
the
Co-op thing?
Yeah, co-op.
No, it wasn't. I'm so like, I can't take off work right now. I want to be at everything, but I wasn't able to be there because I needed to pay some bills. So.
What's your work?
Do what?
What's your work?
The bill pay work.
Yeah. Are you asking what I do?
Yeah.
So I'm working with this guy who is the tour manager for the Tri-Daniel band. I'm building his music theater. So that's what I'm doing in the daytime. So I'm like, basically.
Theater production?
Basically theater design, really. Like I'm doing all the lighting. I've learned how to weld and learned all this different stuff. I built the whole entire seating for his space and lighting design, sound design, like just whole
Where
entire.
is it located?
It's in a Berry Hill. Yeah, it's not. It's over Winford Avenue. It's kind of like by the train tracks kind of.
So they're building Charlie Daniels.
But it's not affiliated with Charlie Daniels. The guy that I work for was the tour manager for Charlie Daniels.
Oh, okay.
But he's not connected. I mean, he's still connected with him, but it's not like directly affiliated with him.
That's why I said.
Call him, what do you want?
Yeah, but
Good old Charlie.
yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I do that. And then I actually do a lot of stuff. I do like stage design, AV tech stuff. I work at like Music City Center or Bridgestone sometimes. It's a pretty good sometimes. Like, and
Did you start in agriculture also?
well, so I have 125 acres right now. I'm trying to sell 110 of it because I've been up more than I can chew.
Oh.
But I have 7 acres that's paid for, and so we're building off the grid. I've already got.
Where is it?
It's close to it's past Dixon before Jackson. So it's over by the Tennessee River. There's a creek on the property that actually leads into the Tennessee River. And I've already built a 12x12 cabin. I got the roof on. Yeah, so we're basically off the grid sanctuary. Want to have retreats there for people that grew up in urban environments to reconnect with nature. That's the big thing. And then also encouraging people to access, reclaim their sovereignty over their life by realizing that the words that they choose to tell their story with have immense power over the direction that they're moving. So yeah, it's like we define the legend that we live by the words the myths that we tell and the words that we choose to tell them why. So we call it living lore sanctuary because we're holding the pen of destiny.
What type of governmental issues you run into with that property doing what you're doing?
There's no permit thing in Perry County.
Perry County.
Yeah, so I don't have to pull any permits. I can bring whatever I want to out there.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, and I'm in between two hills. I don't get a cell service. I don't get cell service. And I have 2,100 watts of self-solar power.
How you doing, boo?
So you don't have to, put a cell
I mean, I'll probably have just a maybe. I don't know. My neighbors have a what's it called? Have a landline. So if I need it, I'll just go to the suite. But honestly, it's nice. It's nice being out there and just disappearing. It's really, really nice.
You don't want information and stuff.
What you up to, John?
Yeah, here's one of the presentations I made from the dollar right here. So you see it up here? This is a 3D printed crane. It's a crane on a 3D. Yeah, so it's printed. That's the structure completed. I have full pictures of it. This is for the sake of the presentation.
On that one right there.
We about to get into this panel, y'all.
And then, that's the wind turbine. Okay, and that's the vertical tower line. And then let's see.
Hey, Pete.
Layer by layer. Center point.
Everybody, we are here getting.
Yes, and that particular model is like okay, but
So I'm getting y'all set up for this panel.
that's the structure.
We are also live streaming on this other phone.
So like it's got a tree inside. So it's like in your kitchen. It's actually the outside. Wasp nest.
What's up?
Yeah.
Is it? Hey, can you sign my bad? Can y'all sign in for me? Those y'all coming in, y'all sign in for me if you don't mind. Hey, get as much as you can take, homie.
Yeah, so
Go ahead, please do.
Man, I saw a report, man. I told you my birthday was yesterday. I turned 55. You gonna pay my? You know my son, Mark.
They're based in UK and Ireland, and they've already printed 3-story apartments. That's pretty printed. And then people are living in it already. That's the concrete. That's concrete right there. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it literally less labor, less space, and virtually no waste actually. Just water. But yeah. And then so this is like it being printed right there. And those machines are a lot more expensive. They're like $500,000, but they literally they printed multiple 3-story apartment complexes. In Saudi Arabia, there's one that is 3 stories. It's fully integrated with like Internet of Things, like what's it called? Like solar panels, solar powered lighting, all these things, water pumps, and all these things. And the cool thing too is that like the concrete, pretty good at the back, the fitting for the back. This is like, yeah, it kind of does. Yeah, exactly. They got that's like flower pots right there.
Some of these right here.
Yeah,
Turn into the filament.
1,000%. Yeah, lots of cool stuff. Lots of cool stuff.
This is what you want to see.
Yeah, I feel that. Thanks for sharing that. That's super real. Yeah, that's one quote that I was published a cooler quote. It's like, we are ready for the time. Ready. We got Brown. Did everybody sign in? Well, so what we're doing is we're asking for people. Yeah, that's all. We're asking like, in your ideal community, everything is provided for you, have infinite resources, money's not a problem. What does community resources look like?
One thing that'll help this whole community out.
Yep.
There's a store that sells vegetables and dairy products and meat.
So
that's all. No tobacco, no bill, no medicine, and nothing. You know. And
so
then,
no
debt. And then guess what? At a Target, the what do you call the SNAP recipients, whatever they get, what they call it, EBT. At a Target thing, to have to do nothing but spend their money the correct way. Anybody go in that store gonna spend their money right.
Right.
They're gonna use their card right. They're gonna do what the government gives to them for. You feel me?
Yeah.
That store gonna automatically make money because it's not now over here. And not only in this area, in a lot of black community areas, that has a store that sells vegetables and meat and pork. I mean dairy products. Them 3 things are so important for me and you to grow.
Absolutely.
Mentally and physically. That's what we need.
So I put down food access, grocery stores with only healthy food.
Let me ask you one more thing. If I wanted to be a person, I'm broke. I ain't got a quarter. But I would like to start a vegetable farm. You gotta help me. The way I can get I ain't got no money. I get a $7,500 check in money. I invest it.
So I'm hearing you right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm hearing you right now. So the reason why we're having this meeting right now is so that we can go figure out collectively as a community how we can create those opportunities. I'm a collaborator. I'm a partner in the social. So today, Johnny will be here and talk to him and stuff. He's So, y'all just bear with us. Like I said, today we're basically gonna have four of those classes, like Zoom, so like people at the center are in, acting like I said, start off introducing you all, and then we'll go into more ease only into the question and answer, like rounds and things, who's on the panel, and then like I said, go into things. I just said, yeah, back with y'all. Alright, sorry. Yeah.
Are we ready to transition?
Yes, transition. All right, y'all. We about to get started with our panel. We about to get started with our conversation. If y'all would like to be a part,
Feel free to have a seat.
catch a seat in the back or pull up a chair. You're more than welcome to, get food and all that. But as we're doing the panel, we having a conversation with people that are up here and on this phone, so it's gonna be kind of hard to hear everybody. So just be mindful of the background noise in the conversation. But like I said, you are welcome to still get some food and do your thing. Do not want to say the conversation, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? But we would love for y'all to be a part of the conversation that we about to have pertaining to this area in the neighborhood community.
Yeah.
So, all right. Let me get my paper.
Laptop too.
Is this somebody's food right here? Yeah.
Here you go, bud. Yeah, it needs some signal support. Yeah. That's my dad right there. Yeah. That's my entertainment source right there.
See that chair over there? Perfect. All right. Let me get to mine.
So all your chairs make that noise?
Oh, here we go. All right.
Should TV announcer voice.
Right. All right. We're back. All right. Thank you all for participating in the art activity as well as in the Q&A with our guest speaker, Marquita Bradshaw, all the way from Memphis, representing Soul and Justice. As we move into this last part of our town hall meeting today, we want to have a panel discussion around building green, right? And how can we build healthier? How can we go about building in a more eco-friendly way, in a more environmentally conscious way? Today on our panel, we have experts on our panel who are currently making their steps towards building green for climate change. All right, how you doing? And go ahead, do your thing, get some food. We got a bathroom on this side, FY, and that's it. Yep. Building green. So today, as I introduce this panel discussion on building green for climate change, we'll focus on the challenges. Hey, Dr. Elian. Dr. Elian. Dr. Elian, can you hear us? Dr. Elian, you ready to hear? Are you able to hear us? All right. So.
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, but the reception is really bad.
All right. Can you go on mute? Okay, we're about to get started. All right now. So, as we were mentioned, for the kind of discussion on building green for climate change, we'll focus on the challenges and opportunities of sustainable and environmentally friendly construction practices in the South Nashville community. This panel will explore the impact of various environmental issues such as air and noise pollution, food deserts, lead pipes, gas stoves, bugs, redlining, infrastructure concerns, and gentrification on the well-being of the residents. The discussion aims to shed light on the importance of building green and how we can mitigate the effects of climate change and improve the overall quality of life in the community. Today on this panel, we have experts in doing this work. Liberated Grounds is here today, and they are dedicated to telling our stories rooted in liberation. Currently, Liberated Grounds is exploring and highlighting past, present, and Afrofuturism, a Black spiritual fantasy story and art exhibit by famed local artist X Payne. Liberated Grounds is growing to become both physical and virtual space to tapping into the possibilities of VR and Black storytelling in the metaverse. Our ultimate goal in expanding our possibilities of what the future holds, we are imagining a new thriving world. Today, I want you all to give a warm welcome to our guest, M.E., who is on our panel. If I get one. Today, we have M.E. M.E. is the co-founder of Liberated Grounds, born and raised in Nashville, Tennessee. Their practice is self-embodiment. Their philosophy and approach are performance-centered. They seek to catalyze creativity and innovation by employing effective solutions for the community being served in a timely manner. As a strategist, she has had the opportunity to mix her passions of community engagement, development, and global sustainability over a decade of working with philanthropic organizations. Their vision forward is rooted in fostering new relationships with equity and sustainability lens while deepening existing relationships. Thank you, Emmy, who is virtual today. And next, a great person, man, a bank full of information, a burst full of joy and energy, and an all-around great leader. I want to introduce my friend and mentor, Mage of Mandela Movement. Give a warm welcome to Mage, please. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Mage Handy was born and raised in South Nashville neighborhood of Woodbine. He has more than 11 years of hands-on experience in the recycling sustainability industry and recently shifted his focus to collaborating with local experts in the science, technology, engineering, math fields to use cutting-edge 3D printing technology to create low-impact, cost-effective, affordable housing with the nonprofit called Mandela. With Nelson Gillian, say it again?
Gien, 2 L's.
Oh, Gien and Hano Diaz, indeed. So once again, thank you all, our guests today, for being on the panel. And yeah, I got a quote here that I want to read off, and I would like for you all to kind of tell me what does that quote like mean to you before we get started with this panel. And the quote goes, I don't want a merely livable future. I want a beautiful world. I'm sick of nightmares and I'm ready to dream again, by Mary Hegler. So with that quote from Mary Hegler, what is that like? How does that reach out? What does that mean to y'all to create a beautiful world or a livable future? Like, what does that mean to you? Starting with Mage, and then we're gonna go to Liberated Grounds immediately.
Well, so not just repeating the same just because it's what's there. That's the first part. Not just accepting accessories that end up in the landfill, not just accepting the things that are convenient because that's what's been handed to us. Understanding that we have immense potential and capability of dreaming a new future, and that we were gifted by the Creator this powerful tool of imagination to understand that we can create something different. Children of the future. We got some joyous children in the background right now. But so coming back to that childlike creativity, understanding that a lot of these problems that are adult problems can actually be solved if we come back to our innate primal curiosity and our creativity, and that we have the power and potential to tell the story a different way. So that's what came out of, my intuition.
I love that. I love that. Emmy, what is your take on this quote right here? What does this quote mean to you? I don't want a merely livable future. I want a beautiful world. I'm sick of nightmares and I'm ready to dream again. What does it mean to you to create a livable future, a beautiful world?
Peace, everybody. So a lot of that starts in the mind. It sounds like that person speaking of what they're dealing with, and they're experiencing nightmares because of their environment. What I experience is not nightmares. It's a lot of daydreaming. It's a lot of thinking in my experiences, and so just making sure that anything that's in our consciousness is flowing through reality, and that's what it means for me to be able to embody that quote in a way that speaks to the past, the present, and the future of my being.
Heard. Where we see. So, going into, hopping straight into the questions, and thank y'all for that feedback. The first question that we have is, what role does redlining play in exacerbating environmental and health disparities in the community? And how can green building initiatives help combat this issue? For the people here, let's let Maze answer first, and then we're gonna pass it over to ME of Liberated Ground. Maze, what's your take on that question? What role does redlining play?
So I grew up not too far from here. We're in South Nashville, Napier neighborhood. I grew up in Woodbine. Different place in the 90s. We're talking about like the school bus, the walk-in school bus situation. My mom didn't let me walk to school, and I went to Whitsett. And like I lived 2 streets over from Whitsett. My mom wouldn't let me walk to school in the 90s because it was that violent. There was lots of gang violence on my street in the 90s. Definitely in the early stages of gentrification right now. So I see, the redlining is people that have lived in communities for years and years and years and years and years. And my family included. My mom and dad are both on Social Security now. Barely, still kind of struggling even though they're retired, quote unquote. So what I see is just people basically getting choked out of their own communities. So it's kind of like, people who dedicated their whole lives to either being a part of the community or at least, keeping up appearances within the community, being strangled out of like places that they've called their home. And I see it as a tremendous amount of injustice. It's not fair. And I just see that, I don't know if that answers the question or not, but it makes me really sad to see that stuff. So I try to figure out how I can be of service and to help mediate that as much as I can.
Heard. And me, what about you? What role does redlining play in, and I don't know if you can text this through the group chat, but maybe not, but Emmy, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, solid. So what role does redlining play in exacerbating environmental and health disparities in the community? And how can green building initiatives help combat this issue?
So the first thing that we must do is educate ourselves. So there's some words here that require definition, like redlining. That's the lack of access or the denial of funding to support families around actually building either a new home or renovating a home that is already existing. So those financial services are not provided to people of color based on people's demographic, how they're working, what their potential opportunities could look like. So then essentially the problem would be a lack of community investment. People are trying to renovate their homes for a potential sale. They're trying to renovate their homes because they're building a family. And because of that lack of infrastructure, you will see a lack of educational opportunities in the community. You'll also see health disparities in the community. So the things that exacerbate those environmental and health disparities in the community and how the green building initiatives can combat that is really about educating ourselves, knowing that we are in a community where if an individual goes to a bank by themselves, more than likely they will not receive the loan. But if they go into the bank with their network or a coalition of people, they're 10 times if they're pulling their LLC, if you have a group of entrepreneurs or people with LLCs and they're pulling everybody together into a single coalition and they take all of their assets, if you will, into a bank, then there's strength in numbers. And so at that point, they can create mixed use building opportunities like live workspaces. There's an opportunity for educational programs to be inside that same building. Once that land is developed, once that housing project is developed, and then you can activate the community. You can have what we call economic or freedom opportunities. You can provide more into, and then you can create even more green spaces. And you can do that with that same coalition building around having like community land trusts. And through that, I think the biggest thing out of today's conversation, the more I've been thinking, is going to be around how we promote health, how we create money in our communities and within ourselves.
Receive.
What? I just realized that I didn't answer the second part of the question, but that was a great second part of the question answer. So that was great.
You want to get more context from your perspective?
I mean that's like that encompasses it. I mean my like the green building initiatives really and what I'm doing in 3D printing stuff, which I can get to in depth in a different part. The idea is to create access by education, by banding people together with experts that are willing to volunteer their time, so that a lot of people don't have access to the information, and that's a big part of the problem. So it's like bridging that gap between the individual, the information, and then creating community through collaboration.
So my next question, you touched on a few things. My next question is, what are the consequences of food deserts in the community, and how can building green address this issue? We'll start with that.
Well, let's switch it. Let's let Emmy answer this one first.
So Emmy, the question, good, I like that.
So there are major consequences with a food desert. The first thing is people aren't able to thrive without food. That's what we need as humans is food. Whatever is nourishing our bodies. So you have the problem of nutrition and developmental impact. That impacts our children's minds, how we're able to raise our children. As a new mother, I have a 2-year-old. If I wasn't able to breastfeed her properly because I'm not being fed properly and I don't have the nutrition I need, that's going to developmentally impact my child, her brain development. That's all the neuroscience, world of things, her behavior, her cognitive skills. And then the way that we combat that is by really tapping into community gardens. We could potentially have rooftop gardens, and then figuring out where those fresh fruit and vegetables are going to, because then that means that we have free stores where people can just pick up fruits and vegetables as they need. And then we talk about how we're working with adults in diving into the educational impact, because once you have the fruits and vegetables, then you essentially have a free market, community centers, free educational resources, libraries, shared spaces, those type of educational hubs. Those are some of the solutions that come out of addressing those types of issues.
Thank you for that. Thank you. You want to speak to that?
Sure. So I'm accessing the can you repeat the question one more time? I'm pulling up the document right now, so I got that.
Word. Yeah. So the question was, what are the consequences of food deserts in the community, and how can building green address this issue?
So the big thing again, it's the overall health of the system. The performance, not to use mechanized thinking here, not to act like people are machines, but just bear with me for the metaphor, that the machine is operating as well as the quality of the fuel that's put inside it. So if there's just heavy toxin-laden, pesticide-laden food that's being put in people's tanks, so to speak, then their whole entire mental clarity, the way that they're approaching life is severely impacted. So, and then also access to medicine, herbalism. I'm an herbalist. So like one of the things is looking around and understanding what nature provides as medicine. That the whole Hippocrates' quote is, "Let food be thy medicine, medicine be thy food." If we don't have good access to good quality food, or access to food security, then how are we supposed to have medicine too? And a lot of people's illnesses actually start in their body as sickness. I mean, as it's so. Not having access to good food, the sugar, the high fructose corn syrup, and all that stuff actually is setting people up for diabetes. It's setting people up for cancer. And it's just so curious as to why high fructose corn syrup is in everything. Especially modified grains. And that's the other thing too. We're talking about the need for definition. A lot of people still don't understand what organic means and why organic is important. Organic means that it doesn't have pesticides in it. Organic means that it has been genetically modified by somebody to make more at a cheaper cost. Modified grains, monocropping. That's an implication on the environment too. Monocropping is basically, rather than having a diverse ecosystem, we just have one plain field of corn, like genetically modified corn that's been pumped with chemicals to resist to kill bugs, and then eating that. And then, so there's all those implications as well. So the green building thing, especially with the project with Mandala, one of the big things that we're looking for is how can we use, I like to call it integrated agriculture. So it's like, how can we integrate agriculture into the design? And I know with Liberated Grounds in the Earthship, like that's the greenhouse is a central part of that closed loop system. And then with the project that I'm working on with Mandala, it's we'll be able to 3D print hydroponic tower gardens, to 3D print planters, raised beds, to 3D print all these things that are a part of the design as well. So how can we implement and integrate food security into the environment, into the community? That's the open-ended question. That's my answer to the question.
And I think that's great, because I think that's a great to lead into the next question, because we actually want to ask about infrastructure. And we just touched on some things about infrastructure and how to address it. So let's go and ask that question. What infrastructure concerns impact the community's environmental sustainability, and what measures can be taken to address them through green building practices?
Let me answer that one.
Yeah, sure. So some of the concerns with the current infrastructure of our nation is the way we consume everything. Energy consumption is going to be the biggest thing. We're not energy efficient, and it requires for us to look at our leadership and identify the inefficiencies of urban planning. Some of the solutions for that would be for us to get acclimated in the participation of local governance, so they're not setting us back 100 years. As we are coming out of high school, college, becoming young adults, it's important that we continue to educate ourselves and that we acknowledge that we are interested in sustainability. We are interested in renewable energy integration into our current systems, and that when we think about ecosystem impact, the solutions for that is to really look at native leaders in the community who are supporting local regenerative ecosystems. There's a lot of waste, and so just having waste management systems is supporting those local leaders to give them the resources and the needs that they can use to actually support the environmental sustainability. I think that's some of the solutions that have come out of creating major impact around these concerns.
What are some successful examples of green building initiatives in other communities that can be replicated in South Nashville to address climate change and environmental concerns?
Well, I do want to add something to the last question.
Okay.
Yeah, about the infrastructure, so the way that waste is dealt with is really important, and I think that it's really, wait for that to, okay, cool. So first off, I think zero waste is a myth. I don't think that it's actually attainable. I think that in nature, waste is an inherent part of energy production. So anytime that there's some type of intake consumption that happens, some type of energetic product that is produced from that there's going to be some type of waste. And it's not it's not can we reduce the waste completely, it's what are we doing with the waste? Are we sending it to the landfill, or are we taking that byproduct, putting it back into the system, and therefore closing that loop, therefore regenerating rather than just mindlessly consuming? And I think that like mindless consumption has been a programmed cultural zeitgeist of mindless consumption, and it's almost celebrated. It's almost celebrated for mindless consumption. Look at all the things that I have. Doesn't that mean that I'm important? A lot of people's identities are wrapped up in their mindless consumption habits. So really, it's the divergence of inherent value, and what needs to happen is everybody, as individuals, got to ask that question: what's really important? Is it the things that I have, or is it the quality of life of myself, my environment, and the ecosystem? So really tying that back in and understanding, like, where do we put the byproducts of the lifestyles that we choose, and is it worth it? That's the question to ask.
Where are we putting it, and how are we using it? So what are some, let's go into our last, not really our last question, but how does the presence of lead pipes in buildings affect the safety of its residents, and what are the sustainable solutions to this problem?
I wasn't aware that people were still using lead pipes, but I'm sure, I guess there are stuff that's left around. Because I know building codes, you're not supposed to use lead pipes now, but there's places that are still, I mean, yeah, that's a tough one.
New builds can't.
Is it?
New builds can't use lead pipes, but old buildings may still have lead pipes.
Yeah, so the infrastructure of cities, this is just leaning into the education that I had, like Benias, you were saying, the infrastructure of cities were built 100 years ago. So there are plenty of lead pipes that are completely a part of the full infrastructure of a city, not just even just the buildings, it's before they even get to the buildings. And so that's, of course, that is a problem with cognitive development in our children. You've seen a lot of that play out in Flint and other cities across the nation. It's absolutely happening in Nashville. The media just won't promote it because they don't want you to be worried about that because you've been dealing with it. Your parents have been dealing with it. So before you even were born, you were dealing with lead pipes. It requires a full uproot of the actual infrastructure. And we don't have the funding for that. That's not something that we're putting funding dollars towards. So the only thing that people can do in their homes right now is having the filtration systems. There are community and government programs and dollars around financial assistance for those replacements of those systems in the building, or some of these green builders. But having the filtration system in your home is the best method that you can take as a until our government chooses to put billions of dollars into rebuilding the infrastructure of the present inefficient systems with the lead pipes.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people don't even, or at least, I mean, I definitely wasn't aware, or I didn't, maybe I was passively aware, didn't think about it actively, but I think that really having some type of public education campaign about that being a reality is pretty important too. And again, it kind of goes back to the closed loop systems situation, like rain catchment, filtration systems. I'm building off the grid, and these are things that I have to think of. I'm blessed with a clean creek on the property that I have, but it's also, I still live in a city too, so it's like one of those things of how do we clean the water that we have? And man, yeah, that's a tough one. I don't have an answer for that, honestly.
Heard. But it's really just about having a conversation, and I'm learning so much as y'all talk, to be real. So the last question, I think this is where your slides are coming in, right? What are some successful examples of green building initiatives in other communities that can be replicated in South Nashville to address climate change and environmental concerns. I think we're gonna lead with ME on that one.
So the biggest thing is going to be raising the collective consciousness of the community. That's what me and Vogue really started tapping into with the murals, right? And I think a lot of people think the murals was like community beautification, and it is, but like if you really take the time to go look at the murals that have been created, all we ever talk about is the collective consciousness of the community and the people that live there. So it's about this idea with the Verdict Grounds about telling our stories. That's really funding media, creating compelling stories that lead to the cultivation of the wellness and mindfulness amongst the thought leaders and community leaders, to where there becomes a spiritual development shift around better meditation practices, going back to nature, like you was talking about the water catchment, the understanding of biotextual and architectural fields, the understanding of what is a green space, what is a green building, and having our thought leaders work collaboratively to promote positive narratives in the community. Because what our children are experiencing are negative stories and negative media. So how do we create those type of spaces that lead to positive outcomes? And I think what we're doing now is a solution, right? Just the inaugural town halls happening right now, having more informationals and workshops, inviting people to engage differently in their community from which they've been engaging for their whole lives, and then offering them opportunities to have green jobs and actually hiring them and training them and developing them professionally and personally. That's why when we first started LG, we was really tapping into like sound healing and just just resting together, and what that actually means, because tapping into the social consciousness is the mindfulness of how you build community. And if it's just all the people who are, preaching to the choir talking about it, then how are we actually impacting the next generation? And I think that's what I'm starting to see in a lot of different cities as I explore, is like their ability to sell mindfulness back to us. You have a lot of white people who are on this mindfulness track, but that's really from the Black diaspora, right? And it's like, how do we get back to ourselves, getting back to nature, and then tapping into those community land trusts, tapping into those community gardens, teaching each other how to build, how to be herbalists, have apothecaries, have free markets, knowing how to barter, knowing how to be, green builders, have green collar jobs. There's a lot of opportunity there, and you see that there's a lot of different models across the nation if you start doing that research. So just educating and activating.
Yeah, I definitely agree and resonate with all that. When it comes down to it, it's all about realizing that we have tremendous power in the way that we choose to tell our story. And, saying that I can limit myself with my words, or I can realize that I haven't experienced all that there is to experience yet. And every day is a new opportunity to take a different path, to learn something new. And so one of my approaches to solving these complex problems as society, giving somebody a pen or a pencil, lending some inspiration, letting them come up with a solution, so it's not just me coming and being like, here's my solution, it's gonna work. How do you envision the future? What do you want to see changed? How can we collaborate to make that happen? Okay, that's the question I always like to ask first. It's okay, so what's going on in the community? Okay, don't have food access. Okay, how can we collaborate and create something? Because here's the thing, like so many people, they get the martyr complex, they want to come in and be like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna put everything on the line, and it fails. It's not just up to one person. It's not just up to 2, 5, 10 people. It's up to the communities. It's up to the village. It takes a village. That's the same for a reason. So for me, exploring these technologies, creating conversations like this, think tanking, creating actionable strategies is a big thing. really educating people on project management, because that's the biggest thing. It's like everybody has an idea, but how do we make that idea manifest? And, and it takes a lot of ego dissolution, moving it out of the way, and realizing it doesn't always look like the first idea or the first draft. Many times it doesn't look like the 10th draft. But having that openness and willingness to accept that we don't have all the answers and to ask for help. So that's the biggest, that's for me, I kind of diverted from the question, but I feel like this is more of a positing a question or an opportunity out of curiosity of how that we can all band together and make this thing work. And, the Buckminster Fuller Club quote is inherently, it is a waste of energy to fight systems of oppression. It is a better use of that energy to design a system that makes that system obsolete. So it's like we can fight, we can protest all we want to. The people in their penthouses are laughing, looking down on us on the street level. I'd much rather put that energy. Granted, I was part of Occupy Nashville. I was one of the first 12 people on the plaza at Occupy Nashville back in 2014, 2013. I'd much rather use that energy to designing a solution, to collaborating with people, to organizing and figuring out how we can build this from the ground up. Because the top down is what got us here. We gotta go from the ground up from this point. I put together these I'll just share these little slides, and I'll send these to you, Emmy, as well. I don't know if you can see that right there, but
We're gonna add those to our takeaways on social media.
Oh, cool.
So
Awesome.
We'll definitely post them.
Okay, well, so so this stuff will be posted, but basically imagine, being able to model and 3D print drawings into a habitat from earthen materials such as clay. And then imagine 3D printing entire communities where homes emerge from the ground like living sculptures, each uniquely designed to fit the landscape and the needs of the inhabitants. This includes features such as hydroponic tower gardens, wind turbines, bath fittings, and more. What do you imagine these communities of the future will look like? So that, again, that's an invitation of curiosity of how can we use our vision, our dreams, our powerful potential as creators and visionaries to design a future that's beneficial for all, and not just for the people that are privileged enough to have the resources or have access to it already. So, and I guess that's the end of my answer. Sorry, it's kind of long-winded there, but,
I appreciate everyone coming to the town hall today. Do our panelists have any last final words, and where can people connect with you all? So as we close out, before I go into my last few takeaways, where can people follow you all, connect with you all? All that.
Amy, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I wanted to leave a final thought because, going to college or being an adult or just growing up and maturing and knowing the possibilities of the world don't actually change the world. What changes the world is what we do in our homes when nobody else is watching. That's what changes the world. So like picking up actual small tasks, like turning off the lights. Like I remember my mama used to say that all the time. Just turn the lights off when you're not using them. You know what I'm saying? Like get a paper bag from Kroger, and if you got paper, throw the paper in the paper bag. Keep the plastic in a plastic bag, and then have another bag for actual trash. Compost in your freezer. You feel me? Like, this is small things that you could do. Water conservation, little things. And so it's all about educating ourselves, but actually wanting to be better for our children and for our children's children. And wanting to create a world that is going to be sustainable. And then being open to coming to these meetings, making time for these conversations with your people. That's the biggest thing. And so that's what I've shifted into, as everybody can probably tell, in the last couple of years, is just engaging differently and making it as meaningful as possible. So that's what I leave everybody with today.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a lot easier to turn the lights off whenever you realize that it's draining your solar battery. It's not just coming from a plug in the wall. It's like, and that's the one thing is like transitioning into renewable energy rather than just being on the grid is such a eye-opening, man, I use a lot of resources. So the biggest thing that and through all of my recycling work, with Recycle Reinvest, with Deep Tropics, with everybody that I work with through the years, Green Village Recycling, the biggest thing is taking responsibility for the waste that we generate. There's no way. It goes to a big mountain, and as Marquita was saying earlier, like there are corporations, organizations that are buying up waste. I think it was 2017, China stopped, they used to pay people in China to take barges of trash, and it became these huge dumps in China so I'm going on a tangent here. What I'm saying is, take responsibility for the waste that we generate. And I don't just mean physical waste. I don't just mean litter. I don't just mean that. I'm talking about energetic waste. What's our energetic output? What type of energy are we taking in? What type of information are we taking in? You are what you eat. That goes for information as well. So the mindfulness aspect, be mindful of the media that you're engaging with. Spend time to sit and to rest. Prioritize your self-health. How are you supposed to help the world if you ain't helping yourself? And before judging somebody else, see them with your heart. Understand that we're all human trying to do the best we can to survive. And compassion is the answer.
I appreciate everyone coming to share knowledge and network. I hope this event provided value opportunity for people to gather together as we are trying to build more data and enhance our perspective, improve our perspective on how we can create solution and change. First in the Nashville area, second going abroad with our partners. Today, a few takeaways. We've touched on a few words that I feel like people should go back and kind of follow up on, such as earthships, things like climate justice, environmental justice, words like, we touched on how to first educate yourself and holding accountability for yourself and what you do and making those small decision choices that can lead to greater impact, right? Also, I want to say that we were able to learn about energy poverty, which is another word to know and learn about, right? And go back and look up. We talked about a few scenarios that happened that we should go and look more into, so that way we can come back to the next town hall with a few more, I guess, tools in our bag that we can use for the next conversation. So, with that said, let's see what else I want to touch on. I want to open the floor for any last words. Does anybody have anything they would like to say or share or ask before we, close out totally?
I forgot to say, it's at _Mandala, MANDALA _movement, at _Mandala _movement on Instagram. And then we just started our website, themandalamovement.org. It's under construction, but you can at least set up a meeting and have a conversation with us at this point. So themandalamovement.org.
And what about?
I shout out Liberated Grounds. You can find Liberated Grounds any and everywhere. LiberatedGrounds.com, Liberated Grounds on Instagram. We got a Liberated Grounds Discord. We're looking forward to buying a piece of property here soon for a community land trust. We're going to call it Liberated Grounds. It's going to be a third space for the community. We're Liberated Grounds on YouTube as well. So just continue to tap in however you see fit.
Indeed. Woo. Thank you. We have South Nashville is facing a lot of issues, from air pollution to noise pollution to food deserts to lead pipes. And these concerns impact the well-being of the residents here. So as we continue to have more town halls and explore the challenges that these people face in this community as well as around the world, we want, like I said, we want to be able to try to come to more solutions. We want to figure out the right questions to ask the community as we go out and survey, going door to door canvassing, and get a better understanding on who we need to partner with in order to implement those solutions in this community. So once again, thank you to our sponsors at So Injustice. Thank you to our community partners, Liberated Grounds, Mandela, Urban Green Lab, Black Mental Health Village, Mandela.
Deep culture detox.
Well, they weren't really part of this.
Oh, yeah.
No.
I was just saying, shout out to them anyways.
So, and thank you for everyone. Big ups to Bryant who provided the food today. And big ups to Jennifer for bringing the rice and also being a part of the conversation. And big ups to Claiborne Worship Center for allowing us to use their space to have this conversation. And also host this event. And also shout out to the Recycle Reinvest staff and board members for doing an amazing job this year in 2023. All the work that we did in Nashville in general, but especially in the South Nashville area. Thank you all for your hard work and your considerate collaboration and making the sacrifice to come out and enjoy your Saturday with us. That pretty much wraps up the town hall, and y'all have a great evening.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Thanks to you.
All right.
Thanks to you.
You did it, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, word.
Good job.
Yeah, that felt really good. In the future, I would love to, not to help